Welcome to CyberExplain channel. Today we are going to discuss IAM Access Review, your key to continuous compliance. Hey there! Glad you could join us. Today, we are tackling a super important part of identity and access management, access review and certification. Think of it like a regular health check for all those permissions we grant. It's not a one-and-done deal, right? Keeping things secure means constantly checking who has access to what and if they still need it. Ever wondered why some folks still have access to systems they haven't used in years? We are going to explore that and how to prevent it. Let's get this party started. So, why do we even bother with access recertification? It's all about ensuring that what we think people have access to is actually what they need and should have. Regulatory bodies are all over this, and for good reason. Think about sensitive customer data or financial systems. We absolutely need to prove that only the right eyes are seeing it, and only at the right times. It's about providing concrete proof to auditors and stakeholders that our controls are working like a charm. Without this, we are essentially operating blind, which is a massive risk. Before we can review anything, we need to know what things people have access to. This is where entitlement discovery comes in. It's like taking a full inventory of all the keys and access cards everyone possesses. This isn't just a one-time snapshot, either. Think of it as an ongoing process, because access changes constantly. We need to collect this information from all our systems and applications and then map it clearly to the users who have it. Crucially, we want to translate that technical jargon into something understandable for the folks who will be doing the reviewing. Once we've got that raw data from our systems, the next big step is to make sense of it by linking it directly to the people. This means figuring out which user account is associated with which specific permission or entitlement. Imagine a giant puzzle where each piece is an access right, and we need to place it next to the correct person. This mapping is critical because when we ask a manager to review access, they need to see their team's access, not just a random list of permissions. It makes the whole review process much more relevant and effective. Now, who actually performs these reviews? We can't just ask anyone. The best people are those who understand the why behind an access right. Typically, this means user managers. They know their team's roles and responsibilities. Sometimes, it's the application or data owners who are best positioned to say if someone should access their specific resource. For high-risk access, we might involve security officers. The key is to involve people who have the context and authority to make informed decisions about who really needs access. Getting those identified reviewers to actually do the review can be a challenge. We need to make it as easy and impactful for them as possible. This means clear communication, providing them with the necessary information, that mapped access we talked about, and setting realistic expectations for their time. Sometimes, it's about building these reviews into their existing workflows so it doesn't feel like an extra burden. When reviewers understand the importance and are equipped with the right tools and context, they are much more likely to be thorough. How often should these reviews happen? It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. That's where a risk-based approach comes in handy. Think about it, access to a customer database probably needs a more frequent review than access to a public company website. We need to assess the business risk associated with different types of entitlements. High-risk access might get reviewed quarterly, while lower-risk access might be fine with an annual check. This makes sure we are focusing our efforts where they matter most and not getting bogged down in unnecessary reviews. So, let's talk about frequency. As we mentioned, it's risk-driven. For highly sensitive systems or privileged accounts, quarterly reviews are often the standard. For less critical access, annual reviews might suffice. The goal is to strike a balance between ensuring security and not overwhelming our reviewers. Automated systems can help trigger these reviews at the appropriate intervals. It's about establishing a cadence that makes sense for your organization's risk appetite and operational realities. What exactly are we looking at during these reviews? It can range from the very broad to the very specific. At a high level, we might just verify if a user is still employed. Sounds basic, but it helps catch those dormant accounts. Then we move to roles. Does this user still need to be in the finance manager role? Finally, we get down to the nitty-gritty of individual entitlements, like specific file permissions. The level of detail depends on the risk. We want to make sure the reviewer can understand what they're looking at, so using clear descriptions is key. Not every single access right needs a deep dive every time. That would be incredibly inefficient. We need to be smart about it. Think about access to a public holiday mailing list, probably not worth a formal review. But access to a database containing personally identifiable information, PII? Absolutely. We need to determine which entitlements pose a significant business risk and prioritize those for review. This helps us focus our precious resources on what truly matters for security and compliance. So, what happens when a reviewer flags something as inappropriate or no longer needed? This is the remediation phase, and it's just as critical as the review itself. Simply flagging it isn't enough. We need a process to actually do something about it. Does it trigger a ticket in our IT service management system? Does it directly call an automated process to remove the access? Sometimes, further investigation might be needed. This part often gets overlooked, but it's where the rubber meets the road in terms of actually improving security. Let's paint a picture. It's quarterly access certification time. Our manager, Sarah, is reviewing her team's access. She comes across an account labeled Project Phoenix vendor. Sarah thinks, Project Phoenix ended 6 months ago. Why does this vendor still have access to our internal development environment? This is a classic example of a forgotten entitlement. Because it was flagged during the review, Sarah can immediately escalate it. This highlights why these reviews are so vital. They catch things that automated systems might miss, especially with external accounts. Because Sarah flagged that vendor account as a potential risk, action must be taken. This isn't something to push off until next week. The protocol in this situation is clear: immediate deprovisioning. We need to make sure that account is disabled or deleted *now*. This might involve a quick call to the IT security team or triggering an automated workflow if one exists for vendor offboarding. The key is that the identification of the issue leads directly to prompt resolution. This prevents potential misuse or data leakage from that lingering access. Here's a pro tip: before you even start your formal role definitions or reviews, do a general cleanup of entitlements. This means getting rid of any obvious junk or duplicates. Why? Because it makes it much easier to identify patterns later. If you have a clean slate of who has what access, you can more effectively group users with similar entitlements. This leads to better role definitions and a smoother, more accurate review process down the line. We touched on this, but it bears repeating: get that entitlement data from your systems regularly. Think daily, if possible. Why? Because people's access changes all the time. If your reviewers are looking at data that's a month old, their feedback might be irrelevant or even inaccurate. We want them to be commenting on the current actual state of access. Automation here is your best friend. It ensures you are always working with the most up-to-date information. Remember how we said we need to translate technical jargon? This is where it really shines. When a reviewer sees a description like SQLDB, rw_prod_cust_table_access, they might just skip it. But if it says read-write access to production customer database, they understand the impact immediately. Investing time in creating clear, business-friendly descriptions for every entitlement is crucial for ensuring your reviewers actually understand what they're approving or denying. Instead of having reviewers approve dozens of individual, granular entitlements for each user, which can be overwhelming, let's think about approving roles star. If a user is assigned the sales manager role, and that role has predefined, appropriate access, the reviewer can simply approve that role. This is much more efficient and less error-prone. It leverages the power of role-based access control, RBAC, to simplify the review process significantly. When it comes to who reviews access, it can differ based on the application. For smaller, niche applications, it might be straightforward to ask the application owner directly. They likely know all the users who access it. But for large, enterprise-wide applications with thousands of users, the application owner probably won't know each individual. In these cases, it's much more effective to go to the managers of the users. They're the ones who understand their team's day-to-day needs and can assess if access is still appropriate. This one's a bit of a recurring theme, but super important for catching orphan accounts, those accounts belonging to people who have left the company or are no longer with us. Regularly asking managers to validate the employment status of everyone who should have access is a fantastic way to identify and remove these unused accounts. Think of it as a quarterly headcount confirmation for IT access. It's a simple but powerful step to reduce your attack surface. Doing all of this manually is a recipe for disaster. Automation is key. We want systems that can automatically kick off these reviews based on risk profiles or user lifecycle events like a transfer. Imagine an alert going out to the correct manager every quarter for their team's access. Or what if access is automatically flagged for review when someone changes roles? Automated systems can also help with the actual deprovisioning once access is deemed inappropriate. This saves time and dramatically reduces errors. To really dial in our risk-based approach, we can assign risk ratings to different types of access. So, access to financial records might be high risk, while access to a shared document repository might be medium risk. This allows us to configure our automated review systems to perform reviews more frequently for high-risk access. It's like putting a VIP pass on certain entitlements that require extra scrutiny. This targeted approach ensures we are always focusing on the most critical areas. We've talked about identifying inappropriate access. But what happens after it's identified? This is the deprovisioning step, and it's often the weakest link. If access is flagged as unnecessary or risky, there must be a clear, timely process to revoke it. This could involve automatically generating a ticket for IT to disable the account, or even directly calling an API to remove the entitlement. Without effective deprovisioning, the entire access review process loses its punch. It's about closing the loop and ensuring security. Access attestation is essentially the formal sign-off from a reviewer, confirming that the access they've reviewed is indeed appropriate. It's that digital stamp of approval, or sometimes a denial. These attestations are super important for audit trails. They provide evidence that the review process occurred and that decisions were made. When an auditor looks at your system, they want to see these attestations clearly recorded, showing who reviewed what and when, and what their decision was. Access certification is very similar to attestation, but it often implies a broader, more formal process for validating access rights. Think of it as a periodic, official confirmation that all access granted within a certain period or for a specific system is still valid and necessary. It's about ensuring the integrity of your entire access management framework. This is often a key requirement for compliance, proving that your organization has robust processes in place to manage who can access what. Okay, so a reviewer says nope, this access is not okay. What happens next? This is where remediation strategies are crucial. Ideally, this denial should immediately trigger a workflow to revoke that specific entitlement. It could also create a support ticket for the IT team to investigate further or make the change. The key is that a denial shouldn't just sit there. It needs to be acted upon. We need to ensure that the system has mechanisms to handle these rejections and that there's a clear process for resolution. Sometimes, it's not a clear yes or no, and entitlement might be questionable. Maybe the reviewer isn't 100% sure if it's still needed or there's a slight concern about it. In these cases, we might need further reviews, perhaps by a more senior person or a specialist. Or, we might temporarily disable the access while we investigate. The point is, we don't just ignore it. We have a process to flag these uncertainties and ensure they are properly addressed before they become a security incident. It's worth reiterating how critical user lifecycle management is to this whole process. When someone joins, they get provisioned. When they change roles, their access needs to be adjusted. When they leave, their access needs to be promptly revoked. Access reviews help catch the gaps in this lifecycle. For instance, if an account should have been deactivated but wasn't, the access review will hopefully flag it. It's all interconnected. Thankfully, we don't have to do this all with spreadsheets and manual emails anymore. There are fantastic IAM tools out there that automate much of this. They can handle entitlement discovery, map access to users, trigger reviews based on risk and schedule, manage the attestation process, and even initiate their provisioning. These tools are essential for making access reviews manageable and effective, especially in larger organizations. We talked about approving roles, but what if an organization uses very granular permissions, or even custom entitlements that don't neatly fit into predefined roles? That's where these tools need to be flexible. They should still provide clear descriptions and allow for review of individual entitlements when necessary. The goal is to simplify, but not at the expense of necessary detail, especially for high-risk access. It's about finding that right balance for your specific environment. A common pitfall is the rubber stamp review. This happens when reviewers, often overwhelmed by the sheer volume of access to check, just click approve on everything without really looking. This completely defeats the purpose. To combat this, we need to ensure reviewers have enough context, manageable workloads, hence risk-based reviews and role-based approvals, and understand the consequences of not reviewing properly. Clear policies and training are essential. While access reviews are periodic, true security relies on continuous monitoring. This means systems that are constantly looking for suspicious activity, like someone trying to access data they shouldn't, or unusual login patterns. This continuous insight complements your periodic reviews. If something looks off between formal reviews, it should be flagged immediately. Think of it as having security cameras on 24th July, in addition to a scheduled security guard patrol. Identity analytics tools are really powerful here. They can analyze user behavior and access patterns to spot anomalies. For example, if a user who normally accesses systems from the US suddenly logs in from a completely different continent at 3 a.m., that's an anomaly. These tools can help identify risky user access and behavior profiles, flagging potential issues before they become a major problem. It's about being smart with data to enhance security. Alright, let's quickly recap the essentials. We need a clear process for discovering entitlements, mapping them to users, identifying the right reviewers, making reviews risk-based and efficient, and most importantly, having a solid plan for remediation. Don't forget to leverage technology, provide clear descriptions, and aim for role-based approvals when possible. And always Always keep an eye out for those rubber stamp situations. This ongoing effort is what keeps your access secure and your compliance in check. As we move towards more zero-trust environments, these access reviews become even more critical. Zero trust means never trust, always verify. So, periodically verifying that access is still appropriate, even for internal users, is paramount. These reviews are a fundamental part of ensuring that the least privilege principle is actually being enforced, which is a core tenet of zero trust. It's about constantly validating that trust assumptions are still valid. So there you have it. Access review and certification are not just compliance checkboxes, they're essential proactive security measures. By implementing a robust process, you significantly reduce your organization's risk. If you are not already doing this, start small, but start now. And if you are, always look for ways to improve and automate. Thanks for joining me today. Keep those access controls tight, and I'll see you in the next session. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the CyberExplain channel. See you on the next video.